This episode of the Beauty Industry podcast was brought to you by Venus Concept. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today, my guest is Nicole Montgomery and Neil Osborne from Venus Concept. We know all too well the graveyard treatment room where once loved devices now sit gathered in dust pushed to the corner of the room that are being underutilised. So, to solve this problem, Neil has created a foolproof process that is filled with business tips, strategies, and tools you can use to grow your business, develop your team, and strengthen your sales forecast. What I love about this dynamic duo is, in addition to offering cutting-edge technology and treatment solutions, Venus also provides creative and comprehensive services that address the important challenges for their customers and enable them to improve their overall probability of success through Neil's expertise in sales and Nicole's expertise in wrapping marketing and messaging around your device offering. From Venus Concept, today we welcome Nicole Montgomery and Neil Osborne. Welcome, Nicole and Neil, to the Beauty Industry podcast.
Hello.
Hi, great to be here.
Yes, likewise to have you both. I love when we have a dual guest because, often it's like me speaking to one person, but I love that there's two different voices, and also that we have a male and a female, because three female voices is sometimes hard to differentiate between the three. So welcome, Neil.
Thank you. It's nice to be here and represent the other half.
Yes, that's exactly right. So you may or may not be aware, but we start all of our podcast episodes by actually finding out how our guest entered into the aesthetic and beauty industry from the very beginning, because I think we don't talk enough about that career pathway, and we see these people with these big shiny roles that they have, but how the heck did you get there? So I'd love to start with you, Nicole. How did your entrance into the career begin?
Oh my goodness, quite some time ago. I think 2012. What are we, 21 now? So 10 years next year. I started in the aesthetic industry as a registered nurse, which is quite bizarre. I actually took a friend to have surgery and then ended up being offered a job at the place that she was having surgery.
Wow.
So very naive and excited at the same time by the facade of this aesthetic industry that we're in. But of course, it was lots of hard work and lots of learning to get to where I am today. But I love it. I wouldn't be in any other industry. It's always fun. It's always a challenge.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So you entered into the industry just about 10 years ago now. Any of the work you were doing prior, have you been able to transfer into aesthetics and beauty? And you're kind of like a marketing guru as well.
Well, yes. Oh my goodness. So I've worked since I was 14, 9 months, 15 in a hairdressing salon. I'm looking at Neil because I'm swept hair after school, Thursday night, Saturdays, Sundays. So yes, I've done a diploma of beauty therapy. I actually did a hairdressing apprenticeship when I first left school, and then ended up going back and studying nursing at uni. And I never actually used my diploma of beauty therapy, which I did do part-time while I was working, because beauty therapy is hard work, and I worked in an office. So I did work for Waterford and Wedgwood doing marketing, and I used to work in an office before I moved over to nursing. So a little bit here and there.
Amazing. That's the best way. The pathway is never linear. I find we kind of go up, down, sideways, backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what about yourself, Neil? What attracted you to beauty and aesthetics and hair in the industry and all of the things?
Wow. Could I say it runs in my genes? And I mean that in the nicest possible way because mum's a hairdresser. I grew up handing up at 7. I do have the recollection of being the tiny little child in the timber playpen in the hairdressing salon with all the ladies oohing and ahhing at me. And that's my very first memory of the beauty industry or the hairdressing industry, because in those days, I probably suggest beauty wasn't around. And I'm really excited to be on a podcast because I've got the perfect hair color for podcast. And what I mean by that is that when I grew up in a hairdressing salon, aerosols were not invented. The way that hairdressers used to apply lacquer to their hair was through an atomizer. And that was my very first job on a Saturday morning, was to clean the atomizers. So I suppose I started out very young. I shall keep the linear brief. I started off as a Weller rep when I was 19, state manager 21, Delver brand manager, launched a product called Solar Care, which a lot of people know. That was my very first product I ever launched. Time Magazine, Giovanna Cosmetics, then set up the distribution for De Lorenzo, TG, Matrix, and also Shortcut Software here in New South Wales, and sold off each of those distribution networks, and ultimately became a business coach because I wanted to put back into the industry that I was so well blessed to have create a life and business for me. So I became a business coach with a lady by the name of Geeta McKenna from Salon Advantage many years ago. And she taught me a lot of really incredible things. And long story short, I then 10 years ago, started the business I now have. When I was selling shortcuts, I got heavily involved in beauty, spa in particular in those days. Aesthetics wasn't around as we know it now. And probably in the last 15 years, I've edged myself more and more towards that, and probably further away from hair than I've ever been. Where today, I'd have to say probably 90% plus of my clients are aesthetic clinics, cosmetic surgeons, physicians, through to the large franchise chains as well. So yeah,
you've done a small bit then.
That's hence why I said I've got the perfect hair color for a podcast.
Amazing. I can imagine you've seen some pretty big changes in our industry over that time. I mean, as you said, aesthetics wasn't even a thing, once you started entering into the beauty world. That move from hair into beauty and into aesthetics, was that something that you've consciously chosen to do because you've seen that trend, or it's just kind of happened to be that pathway?
It's actually very conscious, funnily enough, and there's a reason for it. I love being in a growth industry. I get bored in a mature life cycle industry. Hair is very much in that mature cycle. And what I mean, there's not as much innovation, there's not as much change. I love change. I love new. I love growth. And I find the headiest part of growing a business is in the first or early phases. I'd get bored at the back end. So I love launching. I love helping people grow. So yes, it has been a conscious evolution, me following growth. And actually growth is what I'm also well known for, because that's what we do in our business. But that's what it's been. It's been a conscious yearning to be a part of growth.
Incredible. I love that so much. And a huge segment of growth that's been associated with our industry has been through modalities and that advanced kind of skin, space. And especially when we take a look at machinery and devices these days, even when I was coming into the industry just a mere 13 years ago, it was very rare for somebody to have one device, and now people have multiple devices in multiple rooms, in multiple spaces. I'm conscious, Nicole, you're like the marketing specialist. What are the most common questions that you're asked about business owners in terms of devices? Because I think sometimes we put these devices in our clinics and then we actually don't utilize them probably as best as they could be.
Yes, no, and it's very daunting, especially the last 12 months. I was speaking to someone yesterday, a doctor who lives nearby where I am, and she's just purchased a body contouring machine and said, I don't know what I'm going to do with it now. And that was one of the reasons why I guess we did the Ignite program together. But it's daunting. And when you've got to make repayments on a device, whether you buy it as a cash sale or on a subscription model, you still have to pay for that device, and when you're sold the device, you're sold a dream. You think it's going to make you all this money. It's going to be like this passive income that's just going to sit in a room and people are just going to come, I build it and they will come. But that doesn't necessarily happen. So it's quite challenging. And it's not so much of just doing a social media post, which a lot of people think. They think, oh, I'll put out a new post and I've got this new device. And having something new and something different and something exciting does create intrigue. And it does make people think, oh, what's that? And they might pick up the phone. But unfortunately, there is a lot more to it. And then, of course, converting those leads and turning that interest and intrigue into an actual patient on a bed who's having a procedure, or better yet, having a series and getting a package. And that's where Neil really came into it in regards to, how are you going to convert these clients and not only just turn them into sales, but reoccurring sales and retain them as clients and get what we all love, social proof and word of mouth about how great this device is. And that's what's really challenging. And like you said, people have multiple devices now. There's so many different modalities just for the same thing. So trying to cut through and really express what it is that makes your device achieve the best results for the lowest cost and, no downtime, no pain and all the other things is very challenging from a marketing perspective.
Absolutely. And you've hit the nail on the head there. Consistency is key when you're launching something or you're getting something new into your business. I think often we go, here's one social media tile and that will tell everyone that this new machine is, in our space. But the reality is that scroll is so fast that one post might not be seen by all of our clients' eyes. And I'd love to pose the same question to you, Neil, from a business coach point of view. What are the most common questions that your clients are asking you in regards to devices?
Yeah, it's more about how do I introduce it? What we tend to find, and the frame that I sort of come from, Tamara, is that for me there are 4 levels of skill in our industry, and each of them need to be meticulously mastered to build and be successful. The first of those is the qualifications, whether that be a nurse, whether that be a dermal therapist, beauty therapist, whatever it might be, but it's the years and the slog that you put in and the debt you build to go through that education process and to earn your stripes. And that simply gives you the right to participate in the industry. And I really think we need to tip our hat and really acknowledge those people who do that and do that very, very well. But that's only what I call the first layer of skill. The second layer of skill comes from experience, and it is literally the experience. It's the knowledge of product, it's the knowledge of device, but more importantly, it's the knowledge of the reaction you get when you interact with product and device. Mm-hmm. And some people have gone on to have fantastic years of experience. However, I have come across therapists who are highly qualified, very experienced, but still struggle with introducing new devices and new things. Because the third skill is your bedside manner, conversation, your ability to work out how to introduce things comfortably in a respectful, polite way that respects and admires the client for where they are today, but more importantly, takes them on the journey of what that promise is. And like all of us, we also have found businesses that are incredibly successful because they are very, very good at the persuasion. I don't sell. Sell is passé. Sell is crass. Passé is not what we're about. We need to move with today and the future, and persuasion is the new black. And that's really where we need to be focusing about. And the fourth and final skill only kicks in when you're an owner, and that's what I call economics. Profit and loss, balance sheets, profit, metrics, numbers, anything to do with the number. But it's this third skill that seems to stop a lot of success in our industry, and that is either success of business owners or therapists, or even owners managing therapists, but introducing new. How do we do that? There are a couple of very simple steps to do that, and once taught, it really changes the world. But that's the big game changer for me that I observe.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you've labelled that bedside manner. I've never heard, that kind of been termed that before, and I think that is the most important thing you can do as a therapist. Yes, you can provide a good treatment, but when your client understands the why, and that is the new device, the concern, the problem, the solution, when you've got that conversation, it's almost that gift of the gab. They totally get it. All of the stars align. The package is a no-brainer. The products are a no-brainer. The return booking is a no-brainer. But when you don't communicate with your client, it all falls down. And bedside manner kind of wrapped up and enveloped that way. I just love it.
It's funnily enough comes down to one other skill as well. And that is the one behavior that is attached to selling, and most people dislike it, is telling. Telling ain't selling. Okay? Most therapists think they need to tell every client the top 10 reasons why they need to get involved with this treatment. I personally believe that people buy because their 1, 2, 3, or 4 reasons get fulfilled. So here's the challenge. The therapist needs to go into the treatment room and find out what those 4 are before they deliver all their information. Most therapists overtalk and don't listen.
Yes.
So that's where the big shift happens.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess even somebody was saying the other day on an episode we recorded, it's so natural when you're, and Neil, I'm sure you won't be able to relate to this, but Nicole, you will, when you're doing your makeup, and you're with your friend, or, you might spend the night and you're cleansing your face, and your friend goes, "Oh my God, what are you using?" And you go, "Oh, I'm just using this. It feels amazing. And it smells and da, 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 da." You're like persuading them to buy it. And you're not telling them, this is the feature, this is the benefit, this is the machine and the arm piece and the optic and da, da, da. Do you know what I mean? It's 2 totally different languages. One is very conversational. It relates to the client. The other one is like a spiel. And that's the telling versus the kind of persuasion, I guess.
Yeah, persuasion's asking.
Yeah. Interesting. So one of the biggest questions we get asked in our Beauté Facebook community is, where the heck do we start when we're purchasing a device? Because there are so many out there. There are so many different metrics of each device. There are so many different companies. Nicole, what's your advice for business owners who are looking to introduce a device into their space?
Well, I think like Neil said, obviously you need to have the qualifications and experience to start with. Otherwise, you can't make an informed decision when you're going in buying something because a sales rep's telling you how good it is. That's not always ideal. That would ring red flags. But if you have a good client base and you know what it is that your clients, problems are, what would fit well within your clinic, what would actually service the people that you already have, then you're halfway there, because of course you've already got a great database of people that you can hold an event or market to. I would definitely be making an informed decision. So therefore looking at the different modalities that all, treat the same concern that you're looking at, whether it's maybe body contouring or anti-aging. It really depends on what you're trying to complement, because combination therapy is very popular and trending term. So it's highly likely that you already do have a device that does, something similar, or if not, they cross over. So having devices that work together really well is a great idea and will make your life easier, because then you're not, I find sometimes people are marketing some devices that do the same thing. And that's really challenging, because you've got one post or, page on your website saying, come and have, this resurfacing treatment. And then you've got another post saying, well, have this one. And then you find yourself saying, what's best for me? Should I have the modality or should I have the peel? Both are for rejuvenating. So that can be very confusing for clients. Whereas if you know exactly why you're getting the device, what you're trying to solve, and how it's going to fit into your business, you're already starting on the front foot.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, so much so. And it's great advice, because what we do often see in our Facebook community is people will go, I've got X, Y, and Z machines. What else do you think I should add to my menu? And I go, well, that's interesting that you're asking a whole lot of other business owners and a whole lot of other therapists and estheticians. Why aren't you asking your clients? Because they're the ones that are going to have the treatment, right? Neil, I can see you nodding along here. Where do you start?
Yeah, for me, there's only two pathways. And I try to declutter this space, because I, like all of you guys, have visited clinics and actually found that there's a new room in a treatment clinic, and it's called the device room, where all the old devices live. And that's a bit scary. But my point to you is this, that I personally believe a clinic only has two pathways. One, what is your USP? What is your point of difference? For example, we're now seeing aesthetic clinics move into body contouring. Now, if you want to go down that road and start to position your business in body contouring, right, well, let's start shopping that space. And then we take our clients into body contouring, or we market to bring new clients in. One pathway. Second pathway is, I'm actually having a chat with my clients, and I'm finding a lot of clients getting a little bit older, and they're becoming a lot more concerned about pigmentation and sun damage. Therefore, I'm getting lots of questions. Therefore, I have a need I have to fill. Now, for me, they're relatively simplistic, but two simple pathways. And I find if you wander off those pathways, things can get very confusing.
Community, are you tired and losing motivation when it comes to your team, businesses, and services? If so, then let Venus Concept help you ignite your business superpower with their new custom-built Ignite program. A program exclusive to Venus Concept and led by aesthetic industry expert Neil Osborne, who you're hearing from today. This new onboarding program will ensure clinics receive the best possible return on their Venus devices. The program is filled with business tips, strategies, and tools that you can use to grow your business, develop your team, and strengthen your sales forecast. Ignite will help unlock tools you never knew you had to take your business to the next level. So if you want to learn, master, and ignite or reignite your business with passion, get in touch with the team by visiting www.venusconcept.com/au to learn more. Thank you so much to the team at Venus Concept for making this episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast possible. And now back to Nicole and Neil.
In terms of our clientele, do you think we should, sometimes I've heard therapists say, oh, my client said this, my client said this, my client said this. And then when I've actually gone to qualify that, it might be like 1 in 50 clients. You know what I mean? So then do we have to actually do a little bit more research then, rather than just, a few clients are saying they've got sun damage, let's go invest $50,000 in this machine?
Couldn't agree with you more. You raise a really good point, and I call it the mother-in-law survey of one. In other words, we ask a client and they go, oh, look, I've got lots of pigment. Actually, everyone's got pigment. And the biggest mistake we make, unfortunately, is we make a decision on emotion, not fact. So if we are getting more than one person asking you about pigment, I would definitely roll out a questionnaire. I would definitely, if I had a closed Facebook group for my clients, I would post some questions in there. I would definitely be wanting to get some pretty substantial evidence that I had the right group for the right treatment. Because let's be frank, if you get that bit right and then put a treatment in, your business will just grow.
Yeah.
But if you get it wrong, oh my Joves, that treatment room that you've got with all the devices in, it becomes a major liability. Yeah. And that's what we want to help clients avoid. I don't think any company wants to sell a device for someone to put it into the store. We want to sell a device. Any company wants to sell a device to help a business grow. And we know, and I think we all on this call know as well, if you get that marriage right, it can have a huge effect on the success of the business.
Absolutely. So I guess one way you guys are avoiding this device graveyard treatment room are through the Ignite program. And I love that name, by the way. Tell us more about Ignite. What are we looking at here?
Well, Ignite came from a conversation, as it once does, and it comes around how to literally ignite growth in a business. And, you know, I give a lot of credit to Gidon and also Nicole in our early conversations here. What occurred was we identified very simply that a lot of people buy a device, but then don't really get the return out of it. And we started to throw around some reasons for that. And some of those reasons are some of the things we've already discussed. But one of the biggest reasons, and I'm working with a client, and I started actually their job yesterday, and this is the email I got. Just before we start the training, I thought I'd better let you know, we've got this new treatment device, blah, and one of my therapists have sold 15 of them, and the other 3 therapists have sold 0. Help. That was the brief of the training call, right? I'm going, right. So this is just so common. You know, we know this. The owner sells the treatments because they feel they have to. They have no choice. They're the one who's got to pay the money. But they, for some reason, they can't seem to get the rest of the team on board. So what we decided to do is we decided to dig a little bit deeper and look at some of the psychology behind that. And what we discovered was, and from my background of working with a lot of these laser clinics, was that the girls are really good at what we call the upsell. So technically, the upsell is going from Brazilian and underarms to maybe a lip or a chin or an arm or a leg or whatever, staying in the same category with the same device. A cross-sell is moving someone from hair removal to skin rejuvenation, to injectable consult, to whatever it might be. And that is the hardest that most people struggle with because they don't know how to do it. So I have a program that's specifically been designed to do that, and it's very successful. It identifies 3 key behaviours that you need to practice to do the cross-sell, and we don't call it a cross-sell anymore. We change our names, like we don't call it an upsell, we call it an upgrade. And, you know, there's different phraseologies that we use with the client. It works tremendously well. But what we discovered was that was the hurdle. That was what was stopping everybody, because everyone's reason for introducing a new treatment was different. The owner, very clear, commercial, and bank manager or partner were normally the 3. But the staff didn't always have the buy-in. Either they were younger and couldn't relate to the problem that the device treated because they were, you know, treating an older clientele, or they didn't see the value in it. But more importantly, what I discovered was that they struggled with 2 parts: A, opening up the conversation, how to change subjects, and then B, how to reach agreement. We don't call it closing the sale, it's reach agreement, how to reach agreement with the client to progress. And when we actually broke that down, we discovered that the easiest and the quickest way to introduce something to a client or change subject at will is to use what is called a segue. Now, by the way, a Segway is not those 2-wheel devices you ride in New Zealand. A Segway is a term used to describe a phrase that allows you to go from the fire engine got called out because of this terrible accident, but on the way back, talking about fire engines, they actually rescued a cat from the tree. Talking about fire engines is the Segway. So what could it be in our world? And what I've discovered and what I've introduced to the Ignite program is how to do that. And our segue in our industry, believe it or not, is so simple, it's almost embarrassing. And it's 3 words, and I'm giving away the gold. And it's called, by the way. Oh, Jenny, by the way, did you notice the new sign on the way in? Oh, Jenny, by the way. Oh, Jenny, when you use by the way, you can change from one subject to any subject at will. Now, that addresses the problem of people opening up the conversation. Once they open it up, our next job is to control how much they deliver, because 9 times out of 10, they talk themselves into the sale and then keep on talking, and they technically talk themselves back out of the sale again. So again, that's just a little bit of coaching. And then we give them 4 different ways to actually reach agreement, which also is very industry-based and is not sell, not push, nothing like that. We believe we've got to get out of the way to let the client buy. Most therapists get in the way.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So that's where the Ignite program came from, because what we looked at is what were the igniters to actually create this different result that we wanted. And, for Nicole and get on to come up with Ignite, I think was just on point, 100%. And a really good name for the program.
Well, Nicole is a marketing genius, so no wonder the Ignite program came to fruition. I love it so, so much. And, you're so right. Even having treatments myself, you might be having some hair removal, and the upsell/upgrade is so, so easily done. We can go from hair removal to hair removal, just changing the limbs, but it's very much a task, shall I say, and that is what a lot of therapists and estheticians are directed to do, is task the cross-sell, and that is quite difficult. Or previous to Ignite, perhaps it has been quite difficult, right? And I think a key metric that you hit the nail on the head there was when therapists or estheticians hadn't had the treatment that they're trying to cross-sell, right? So you would say to your therapist, okay, we need one cross-sell today from hair removal into inject, but they've never had inject. So how can they talk about the treatment, right? So I think that's a good idea too. And one of the biggest things is what I've seen to be quite successful in terms of the cross-sell has been when the treatment effects are still visible. Right. So if you had just had your lips done, for example, and you are performing laser hair removal on a client, you can say, oh, Neil, by the way, don't worry about my lips. They're a little bit swollen at the moment. I've just had them done prior to my lunch break and da-da-da. And then the client goes, oh my goodness, I've never even thought about having my lips done. Did it hurt? And there's the door. There's the conversation. And I've used your 3 little magic words, by the way.
Yeah. And it's amazing how simple it can work. But what we know is that when we align these processes correctly, we can get a very significant uptake on the device that we focus on.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's another massive aha moment. Every one of us in our industry understand KPIs, key performance indicators. Unfortunately, though, Tamara, a KPI is a finishing line. It's where you want to finish up. I want you to recommend to every second person. I want you to do, 3 upsells and 2 upgrade, or whatever it might be, whatever the numbers are. It's a finishing line. But very few business owners focus on the KPAs. That's right. KPA.
Tell me.
Yeah. Key performance actions that you need to take to get the KPI. Okay. And this is yet another Pandora's box, if you wanted to put it to you that way. But my point is that how often do we tell therapists, right, your KPIs for the week are this, and the poor therapist is sitting there going, oh, great, I wonder how I'm going to do that. Versus, let's talk about what the KPAs are. Let's break this down. And when we teach KPAs, the KPIs look after themselves. But it's about mapping that. Please, it's not just a magic wand. It is actually a premeditated process. But again, Ignite is about exactly this. It's not difficult. And if anything, it's very easy to introduce a new device when you learn the how. Most people only teach the what. This is what I want you to do. We teach the how from a skill, from a knowledge, from a technology, from an interaction with skin. We don't teach this third layer. And, the third layer is where the gold lies.
Yes.
Your bedside manner.
Definitely. So, we're talking about increasing of upsell or upgrades and the increase of cross-sell. What other benefits have you both seen from the Ignite program?
Firstly, Nicole's beautiful skill about helping them market and promote the device, I think, is key and foremost. Obviously, the training that they get as part of the device purchase is also critical. But again, I'm equating those back to skill 1 and skill 2. Skill 3 is where we tend to see a larger takeoff. And I think the biggest thing, to be really frank with you, is primarily seeing a smile on an owner's face. Nicole, you've been out with some of the guys on the team. You know what that's like when you come across that.
Oh, absolutely. And we've had some really positive feedback, which has been nice, from clinics who are established, which I found quite surprising because, of course, the program was designed for new clinics as part of the onboarding process to really support and help clinics. Also to give them all of the different options, because sometimes it can be overwhelming. Do I run an event? Do I start printing new brochures? Or whether or not is it social media posts? So I found that some clinics from all the way from Perth to Tasmania, Queensland, which is great because of COVID being an online course, have actually done this course in lockdown or in that sort of lull winter period, and come back with some really great advice on how they're actually reigniting, I guess, their treatments and their favourite treatments, and the packages that may have done really well, a year ago or 5 years ago, that they're now bringing back and reviving. And look, you know what? We all become complacent. So I think that large portion of the course that is what Neil has been talking about is something that you can continually go back and learn and refresh. It's like one of those gold books that, you get and you learn so much from, and then 5 years passes and you go back and read it again and think, yes, I forgot that. So it's a fantastic resource for clinics. And surprisingly, I would say that if not even more of the majority of the feedback I've had has been from existing clinics and clinics that have had a device for quite some time.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, that's good. You can teach an old dog new tricks then. So I can imagine we're having lots of business owners sitting there in the car driving, listening to this, walking out, maybe with their dog, or, kids at the playground, they've got their earphones in. They're going to be like, I want more upsells. I want more cross sells. I want my team to do better with the upgrades. Who can sign up to the program then?
Nicole, I think you can take that one.
So unfortunately, you do have to be a client of Venus Concept. And this program was an investment of Venus Concept. So Venus Concept do have the Venus Academy, which is a global academy. And that was very much designed, constructed, executed by the head office in Canada. And one of the things that I think Gidon, pointed out to the head office, because when the idea initially came up, he was like, we've already got one of these. We've got all these resources online, is that the American market is very different. The European market's very different. So the course that was designed, a multitude of courses designed by the Venus Academy are very generic. They're global courses. The Ignite program was something that the Australian branch have exclusively done. It's not something that you can, access internationally, and intentionally done to support Australian clients, and of course to marry beautifully with the needs of Australian clinics and of course their clients. And we talk very differently. Having seen both and done both courses, the difference is quite extraordinary. And it's not just a matter of, Neil has an Australian accent and the American person's accent, but little things, like reviews, which we can't obviously use as prolifically as they do in the United States, and on the States course. So you need to get your clients to get on camera and so no, unfortunately, it is only for Venus Concept Australia clients, whether that's new or existing.
Amazing. Now you say unfortunately, but I think very, very fortunate for the Venus Concept clients and those who have those incredible Venus devices in their clinic. So what an incredible offering. Now, Neil, you were speaking before about the business and the metrics and the accountancy side of the business owner. And that's certainly one of the top concerns is that we hear is, okay, I'm going to invest all of this hard-earned money into a device, but where is the return on investment? And that is a huge kind of sore thumb for a lot of our business owners. So can I just buzz you for some quick tips to ensure that our business owners are getting the best return on investment when it comes to their purchase?
Sure. The end of the day, we need to be very clear about what a device costs us to operate. We need to be very clear about what our fixed and variable costs are, should they apply to a device purchase. And more importantly, we need to be super clear on how much we need to charge to make a profit. A lot of people establish a price through a very well-known, unfortunately well-worn technique. Let's just ring a few other clinics and see what they charge.
Yes.
Well, you know, what you've just done is you've set your prices on Sue's overheads, which may be totally different to yours.
Yes.
And I'm going to guarantee you that you're not going to make any money. So we're, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but we've actually developed another layer of education, which is around economics, which is around anything to do with a number. So it goes from metrics right through to a worldwide philosophy, which is called profit first, which is how to guarantee you to make a profit from day one with any business at any time. But it's a very simple philosophy. And what it simply does is, what I know about the most successful clinics, Tamara, is they know their numbers well. Okay. Now, whether that's their cost, overheads, how much it costs to open the door, at what point in time do they reach their break even? So, you know, I've got some clinics that at 2:00 on a Thursday, they're sending me a text message, and all it's got in it is BE with a massive smiley face. They've just passed their weekly break even. So any money they're making on Thursday afternoon, Friday and Saturday is now just sheer profit. And it's absolutely blowing them away. So, you know, regardless of who you work with and what device you buy, the most critical thing that you can do is really get clarity around your numbers. Okay. And then ultimately work out how many you need to do, not only to break even, but to make a profit. Who goes in and makes an investment and expects no return? It just doesn't happen. You know, if you had $100,000 you want to invest, you would want to expect a return. Well, guess what? Same thing with the device. So once you've got all of that mapped out, that then simply tells you how many treatments you need to do per month, per year, right back down to per day, and ultimately also per operator. Then that's when you pick up the phone and you ring Nicole and you go, all right, Nicole, I know how many I've got to do. Can you help me bring in enough people? And that's the third piece of the jigsaw, isn't it? Is actually making sure that you're not only attracting clients, but also triggering and upselling to your existing clients. You know, I can't stress, and especially now more than ever. I mean, I'm a slightly older age group, and whoever thought that I would have gone through my life realizing that my parents' words were going to come true. That is, Neil, you need to save for a rainy day. I never, ever thought in my lifetime that would happen. And look what's happened. We don't know whether this thing is gone for good or whether it's going to come back. The one thing that will sustain business going forward is their confidence in the economics part of their business. It's the only thing that will save them.
Good advice. Very, very good advice. And you've triggered me with something that I've never really thought about quite consciously there, which I'd love to pick your brain on, Nicole, is that when we say marketing, there's so much more than just the attraction of the client, right? And what you've said there is not only, okay, let's just do a social media post to announce that, hey, we have this device coming, but it's all of the internal marketing that we also do, you know, so it might be the poster on the wall that has the upgrade prices, you know, or it might be the brochure that's in the menu that has the cross-promotional prices or services. Nicole, how important is nailing that kind of two-sided internal and external marketing push or pull.
It is so important. Anyone who went to a Catholic or private school would know you don't wear your blazer without your jumper outside of the school. You act a certain way when you're catching the bus or you're in your school uniform. And that is exactly the epitome of what it is. When you've got someone, I take my kids to the local barber because it's all really cool and gold and beautiful. And I went the other day to the grocery shop, and here's the barber out the front having a cigarette at the door. Do you know what I mean? So it's not even like it's not out of the 5 meters or whatever the rule is. But I'm like, gosh, I've got to walk in and out of here with young kids, and you're blowing smoke in our face. I'm not going to go back to you now. Nothing to do with his brochures or the beautiful, really cool themed barbershop that he has. That small little thing just sort of turned me off, and that's what can happen. Unfortunately, it can be something so small that you don't even realize you're doing because it's not even inside the business. And I've heard this before from other talks. I remember Michelle Kearney spoke at an event somewhere, and she said that there was a surgeon in Double Bay, very prominent surgeon, and he was abusing the dry cleaner on a really busy day. His dry cleaning wasn't ready, and he was tearing shreds off this dry cleaner, and everyone in the line all spoke to their friends who spoke to their friends. Oh, did you hear about such and such and his dry cleaning? And word just spread like wildfire that he was, not a nice person to this dry cleaner. Again, he's not even in his clinic. It's got nothing to do with the results or the marketing as such. But how you act extends beyond the bedside, and how you carry yourself, the uniform that you wear. I worked at a clinic early on where we weren't allowed to have tattoos showing, and you had to have your hair up and all these different things. And it seemed quite regimented, but it worked so well for that clinic. People knew what to expect when they came in, and they got, their phone calls answered within 3 rings. We used to get in trouble if the phone rang more than 3 times. All these little things, but that is all marketing. It all falls onto marketing. Whereas I guess some clinics think, I'm going to do an ad, in a local magazine or newspaper or on social media, and new clients are going to come. And I say to them, well, actually, that's advertising. It's a little bit different. And other clinics will do billboards and all sorts of things. And it's like, no, you need to actually have a really good culture. You need to have people that are proud to be part of your business and are representing your business beyond the closed doors. And all of that encompasses marketing. So yes, you are absolutely right.
Yeah. And I guess even if we take the word marketing out of it for people who aren't marketing geniuses, it's really about all of those minuscule touch points that the client experiences from the very first interaction in your business. And yes, that might be a social media post, but then how do they go from that social media post to making the booking? That's a marketing touch point. Once they've made the booking, do they get an email confirmation? Do they get an SMS confirmation? Does somebody pick up the phone and phone them? And then even finding a car park, walking in as you did, past the business owner or past the therapist. It's everything that they're seeing, from the painting hanging on the wall to the brochure sitting on, the coffee table that's in the middle of the lounge, and then all of the after client touch points as well. So again, the SMS review, for example, or the other social media posts, the before and afters. There's so many different marketing, which can feel quite jargony sometimes if you're not like a marketing guru or you don't have that marketing hat on. But I think the best way to experience how your business is marketing to its clients is you be the client, so that you can go on that client journey and understand that holistic marketing campaign, which you are serving up to your clients. Absolute gold. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming and having a chat with me today. It has been absolutely divine to pick your brains for this last hour. And I can imagine we're going to have many, many people on the other end of this thinking, I want to ignite my business. And perhaps that's even their New Year's resolution word, ignite. I love it.
Thank you. It's been an absolute delight to chat with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So exciting.
Well, the innovation in our industry just keeps on coming through. And as you would all know by now, just how much I love collaboration between brands and people, This program really does highlight the magic that can be made when you align two powerhouses with the one vision. Be sure to head on over to @VenusConceptAustralia and @anybody with an I instead of the Y _aesthetics on Instagram to find out more insight into the Ignite program. And hey, while you're there, be sure to pop on over and say hello to us at Beauty Industry and myself at Tamara Reed Beauty, and let us know who you'd like to hear from on the podcast next. Until next time, stay connected.